No, I don't call. Yeah. I suck. Okay. Forgot. Yep. Alright.
I love the enthusiasm.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, guys. I know it's getting late, but can I just have your attention over here? So, my name is Sid, and I'm currently running for SA Treasurer under the Spirit Party. The reason why I'm standing here in front of you today is basically of all the collaborative events that have taken place in my college career in the past. I'm currently a junior here studying finance and economics, and over my UB career over here, I've got involved with so much. And being an international student, it was kind of hard to actually get out there and make a difference. And since I've actually, in my opinion, been successful enough in actually doing that, I'm standing here today in front of you to give back and provide my skills and knowledge to the clubs and all the students out there, to the UB community. So, with being SA, if I get elected as SA Treasurer, the things that I believe will have a really lasting impact would be small goals, because in the past there have been a lot of goals which have been made by the e-board that have been elected, and some of them have not been successfully been accomplished. And where I feel that if there are smaller goals, and which are more achievable, they will have more lasting impacts on clubs. For example, like the preferred vendors list. It doesn't cost us to increase the preferred vendors, it just takes a little effort. So why not put in that extra effort to help the clubs out? That's where I come from. So because I'm from the clubs, from Indian Student Association, and I do realize all the discrepancies that do go on with clubs, and also the finances and how to deal with the finance department of the Student Association. So that's why I'm standing here today again, coming back to the same point that I'm standing here in front of you, trying to make those small goals, achievable goals, to make a lasting impact on the UB community over here. Thank you.
Whoa. Alright. My name is Josh Fromm. I'm currently a finance major in the School of Management. I'm here today. I'm running for treasurer with the Forward Party. My experience this year has led me to this position where I am now. I was a bookkeeper in the finance department. Not only did this give me the experience and knowledge to run for treasurer, but it was like an internship, okay? I processed over hundreds upon hundreds of requests from the clubs that are regular POs, advances, and reimbursements. Now, most clubs came to me with questions about this, and the processes and what they want to do. What I want to do for the clubs, I want to give them a clear definition of what requirements they need so that they can achieve success and possibly get more money from us the following year. I also want to cut the office budget line so that we can give more money back into the clubs. I'm going to be reliable and open to clubs, and as I've been working as hard as I can this year, I'm going to bring the clubs, my knowledge and experience to a higher level into the treasurer's office. I want to thank all you guys for coming out tonight. I know it's a Friday night, and I know it's getting late now, but I want you guys to listen to our points and come out next week, and this will educate you as to who you want to vote for. Thank you.
What part of your SA experience has most prepared you to be treasurer, Mr. Fromm?
As I said before, bookkeeper. Now, bookkeeper position, I work with the clubs on a regular basis. I am required to work 12 hours a week. This year, I have almost worked double that. Each week, I'm in the office for about 20 hours. I process POs, advances, reimbursements. These are the things that most clubs, request for getting money and putting on these events. Now, when clubs come into me, I learn each day a new thing. Literally, I get questions from one end of the spectrum to the other. Being in the office every single day has allowed me to learn more about these processes and get a higher understanding of them. Without this experience, I don't think I would be able to be in the position where I am today, running for treasurer. Being a bookkeeper, as I said before, it's almost like an internship. Having knowledge of what your staff does for you gives you a better understanding of what the clubs are going to do when they come to you and ask for questions. Therefore, next year, if I get elected, when clubs come to me, I will know exactly where they're coming from and why they couldn't get the answers from our bookkeepers. Thank you.
Hi. In my opinion, I feel that having just SA experience, yes, it is vital, but in my opinion, having club experience also matters a lot. And not only club experience, private sector knowledge, having an internship other than how SA finances work, to develop new ideas, new innovative ideas which will help clubs out even more. Doing the regular routine again and again will not, seeing what has happened in the past, seeing what has been doing right now will not only help. You need more innovation, you need that energy, you need the drive to actually come forward and make a difference.
Now you have 2 minutes for your response.
As mentioned in my rebuttal, I stand here with knowledge not only with the SA finances as a bookkeeper, which I have seen under 2 e-boards elected. So I've seen how 2 different e-boards run, and I've developed the knowledge and skills of how to run an e-board effectively, of how to run the student association effectively. So the skills and knowledge are those that I will put forward. In addition to that, I also have private sector knowledge. I interned with a company called First Semesters over the past summer, which might be not so relevant, but it's definitely additional information. As I said, it'll bring about the energy, it'll bring about new innovative ideas, because we've seen in the past that things have been doing well, but how do we make it better? That's my point. And that I believe that having more innovative ideas, having that drive to actually make a difference in the UB community is why I'm standing today in front of you guys over here. Also, being involved with the clubs. I've played soccer for Hong Kong, SA, various international clubs, been involved with various things. I've also held an e-board position. Currently, I'm the Indian Student Association treasurer. So bringing that on the plate shows how we feel, how the clubs feel about the student association. I realize about all the mistakes, all the problems and the issues that are faced, not only from the SA side, but also the club side. And I want to take that knowledge and take it off, and actually, before even the year starts, I don't want to have those issues faced in the future. So because of the knowledge that I have, I know what future problems we might encounter. So just having that information in front of me, having that knowledge will allow me to run a smoother SA for all the clubs. That's all I got. Thank you.
Yeah, you talk about experience. The number one thing that I see when I see clubs come into the office is they want their money. They want it fast. That's basically all they want. Having the knowledge that you have on the outside is not going to help you, know what these clubs want. You need to know the processes down pat and exactly what they need at the point. Thank you.
What is the largest amount of money that you've ever handled?
As mentioned before, the largest amount of money that I have handled would actually kind of be close enough with the Indian Student Association finances, being treasurer, having almost a $4,000 budget to manage and run the club smoothly. But in addition to that, the private sector knowledge that I had, one example that I would like to bring forward is having to deal with one of the associates and his clients, and actually managing the client's finances, which takes it to a whole new level, helping them invest in various markets and stuff of that sort. So I believe that having that kind of knowledge, having to deal with that bigger budget, actually looking at it from a larger point of view, not being narrow-minded towards just one club, but having a whole point of view about the entire student association. Me having private sector knowledge also adds on to that, plus having how to run a club within the student association, within the SA, also helps out in regard to that. That's about it.
Follow-up? Oh, I do. Sid, you're talking about you're managing money in the private sector. Can you give us a number on this money?
It's actually, I'm not allowed to disclose that, but because it's private sector and because it's the client's money, I do not mind putting an amount on that, but I try to maintain a sense of professionalism over here. That's exactly why I would not give a number on that.
You have a rebuttal?
As many of you guys don't know, I'm a member of Zeta Beta Tau fraternity. I actually worked with the assistant. I was the assistant treasurer this year. We have a budget of about $32,000. Now, we take this budget and we look of, where are we going to allocate these resources into the air? Into fundraising, into social events, things like that. And, the one thing I've learned about this whole thing is that you need to take the money and you need to look into the future. What are we going to do with this money? We can't use this money, we can't blow it on one weekend. We can't blow it into this event. You need to take this money and spread it out evenly among all the things. And I really want to take that and give it back into the clubs. I want to be fair to clubs. I want to be objective. When clubs come to me, and they ask for money, I'm not going to look at them with a biased opinion. I want to look at them and say, listen, give me what you want to do and how you want to do it, and we're going to go from there.
Follow up.
Rebuttal or?
Okay. Follow up. Oh. Same question I asked Sid. Can you give us a number?
Oh, your follow. I thought you were asking.
Oh, I have a follow-up.
Okay.
Yeah, for Zeta Beta Tau.
$32,000 for the year.
How do you believe that the finance process could be made more efficient?
Is it me or?
It's Josh.
The finance process can be more efficient with the better staff. As I came into this year, I came in late September, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I was not trained properly. This really slowed down the processes when clubs came in and they asked me questions. I didn't know how to respond.
But in addition to that, one very important point is communication. If there's no communication within the finance department, that's where we lag today. I've seen in the past years we're working with the SA finances. Those are the biggest problems, in my opinion, which will be, if improved upon, will provide beneficial knowledge not only to clubs, but also allow clubs to run smoothly. Now, what I mean by improving communication is not only between clubs and the SA finance. I also mean it down to even the SA finance right now. Having more meetings within the SA Finance Department, having regular meetings, seeing how the finances are working, seeing who's doing what, allocating everything that is within the Finance Department efficiently to each individual, and then having a communicative session of how each individual has been doing. Also having to deal with various clubs. Information from some clubs might be given one bookkeeper, but not the others. So if such information is actually communicated amongst the Finance Department, it will not only help our clubs, but also improve the way in which the SA Finance is more effective, in my opinion, and that's all I got.
Rebuttal?
Now, do you guys think SA needs more money, and if so, how will we make SA more money?
In my opinion, we in the past years have lost the amount of undergrads that we have been coming into as freshmen at UB. With that being said, the 9475 we get less from each student over here, so we have lesser funds to actually allocate to clubs. And with that being said, I believe that SA Finance, if given the option, not SA Finance, SA in general, if given the option, should probably increase the mandatory student activity fee, for the reason being that if there's a $10 increase or so, say, that obviously will be, there'll be a vote on that, of course, but if there's a $10 increase, the deficit that we have right now can be mitigated. The club budgets that are being cut, with that little small $10 increase, we can actually mitigate the effect of the budget cuts. And in my opinion, that SA in general would improve upon by increasing the amount of finances it has right now and allocating them more efficiently.
You talk about an increase in the student mandatory fee. I don't think the finance department should have the right to do that without student advocacy. I feel like the students, it should be their decision and it shouldn't be ours.
Yep. So, actually, follow-up, Josh and Sid. Yep. If you guys mind.
Why? Go ahead.
Oh.
Yeah, he didn't go ahead. That was a rebuttal.
Alright.
I think one of the ways the finance department can increase the money, you know, we have events throughout the year, the gala, fiesta, and we increase revenues from these. These lines, these revenue lines, in the past, weren't used in club budgeting, and I think, you know, if I get elected as treasurer, I want to use these lines and allocate them back into the clubs, because in past years, when we have these lines, the money just sits there. It doesn't go back into the clubs, and they aren't used. So I'm going to take these lines. You know, it ranges from, I think it's $100,000 to about $300,000. I'm going to put those back into the clubs so they can do more for the students.
What I feel about that doesn't mitigate the fact of having the budget cuts, which is currently a really major issue that is affecting a lot of clubs right now. And in my opinion, I just feel that having obviously an opinion of the students and having a vote where the students are allowed to choose whether or not they want an increase to mitigate the effect of the budget cuts on the clubs, which in essential is running of the SA. SA wouldn't be established without the clubs, and if the clubs don't have enough funds to have their events, they won't have a purpose. And with saying that, SA in general, with clubs not having a purpose, SA wouldn't have a purpose.
I forgot to follow up.
Do you believe,
Oh, yeah.
sorry, do you believe that any part of the mandatory student activity fee should go to the spectrum?
I do believe so. I believe, you know, in the previous contract, as you said before, part of that says that some of the money should be to the spectrum. I believe we should continue funding the spectrum, and as SA, we should, you know, keep putting advertisements into there. It's a way for the students to really see what's going on in the university. And, you know, without the spectrum, they wouldn't be able to expose certain issues that have gone on, and the students would have no idea what's going on within the student association and the university.
Alright, in my opinion, SAs over the past years has grown tremendously, and in my like personal experience, like when I came here as a freshman, I didn't know what the spectrum was, I'm sorry. But now I do realize the fact that of how important the spectrum is to the students. With that being in mind, I do realize the fact that the spectrum had a 3-year contract with the student association just to get to the position where it is right now. And I will stand with what my president initially said, that instead of actually giving funds to the spectrum, I believe that the spectrum is so well established right now and has such a great impact that working with the spectrum will prove to be more beneficial. And I just feel that with them, I think we could take the UB community to greater heights. And obviously there will be funding for SA events and in sources of marketing, but I just do feel that the spectrum is well established after the 3-year contract that was there, and we should work together rather than us funding the spectrum.
Next question. How would you characterize SA's relationship with Subboard 1, and how would you improve upon it?
In my opinion, SA's relation with Subboard currently is good, but there's always scope for improvement. And I feel that improving relations never has a negative impact on anything. With that being said, how we could improve relations with Subboard is gaining awareness of what the Subboard does. I don't think anyone is aware, or maybe really few people are aware of the program grant that the Subboard actually gives to the clubs. It's a $1,000 grant, which is allocated to the clubs. And if we use such resources, if we're more aware of what the Subboard has to offer to us, we can utilize the Subboard and improve and actually have a better relation with them as well.
Subboard is one of the most important things to our organization. I think it is imperative that we have a great relationship with Subboard. I mean, I myself deal with Subboard on a regular basis in the finance department. They cut our checks for us, they do our payroll. Without Subboard, our organization cannot run. Subboard currently, you know, they run the vans, they run our payroll, And some other things they do, they have our lawyer. We currently have 2 contracts. We have a service contract and an accounting contract with Subboard. We pay them a large amount of money for them to do these things. So for us as their client, I think it's very important that we maintain a great relationship with them because of the work they do for us.
Not only that, but I feel that even though the relationship is good right now, there's always scope for improvement. We are always learning. At least I can say with personal experience, every single moment, right now standing in front of you, I'm learning so many things. And there's always scope for improvement, and I feel that how it stands right now, Subboard is good, it's great, but having more information and more knowledge about the Subboard will also prove to be beneficial. Yes, it does do all those things by running vans, cutting our checks. Well, and we should maintain a good relation with them, but we should also improve to actually help our clubs out and help the UB out by improving our relation with them.
Do you believe that SA Finance has adequate safeguards and internal controls? Sid.
Right now, I believe that we do not have enough safeguards and controls. I personally know that our lawyer has written up a 50-page document that outlines everything. If we don't have rules and regulations, anyone can do anything they want, realistically. I want to have a written constitution of rules brought to the Senate and passed through the Senate and Assembly so that we don't have to deal with this in the future. We don't have to deal with problems, someone does something and they think it's okay and it's really not okay. So we're gonna try and get rules and safeguards passed so that this won't be a problem in the future.
I do agree to a certain extent that there aren't enough safeguards and rules currently within SA Finances and SA as a whole. But in my opinion, by increasing the number of rules will not prove to give beneficial results. And other than that, by increasing the rules, we might confuse the clubs, might confuse ourselves even more. Right now, club orientations, people don't come out with as enough knowledge as they need, which by increasing rules, in my opinion, will not help clubs out, will not help the UB community, will not help the SA. So instead of that, what I feel the SA should do, again coming back to the point of the incorporation, having New York State to just look over us and we to follow the rules provided by the New York State would give us solid grounds, and us being liable and answerable to New York State would be the most efficient way of having to deal with the safeguards and rules within the SA Finance Department.
You say New York State. We are a student organization. We are student run. New York State does not know how we function. We have specific rules so that clubs don't steal money. For instance, clubs bring in an invoice on an advance. All right, we cut them their check. We require them to have a paid in full invoice. If we don't get this paid in full invoice by them, we freeze them because we don't know where that money goes. So let's say they spent $100 and the advance check was for $175. We need to get that $75 difference back.
What is the General University Services Fee, or GUSIF, and what will your administration do to address it?
GUSIF, the General University Service Fee, is actually, just think about it as a tax that we pay the university to process the checks that we give to the university in the first place. So say, for example, we're using the alumni arena and we write a check of $100,000 for utilizing the resources of UB. We write a check of $13,000, that's 13% of what our initial check, just so that they can process our initial check of $100,000, which in my opinion is unimaginable. Like having an increase from 7%, which it initially started with, to a 13% is unexplainable, and hence having a town hall meeting of this sort with Beth Corey, who is the administrative director in finances of the University of Buffalo, will actually prove to be beneficial and will give us explanations as to why we are paying a 13% GUSIF fee, just so that the university can process our checks, which are initially given out to them itself.
The 13% GUSA fee is something that the university has, it's a policy they have basically, and there's nothing really we can do about it other than reach out to administrators and try and get this either decreased or changed in a way that benefits clubs and students. Right now, I tell clubs when they come into the finance department that if they have a donation, they should specifically give it to us and we will put it into their account so they don't get hit with this charge, which is perfectly legal to do, So we need to advocate to the clubs and tell them more about, these donations, and so they're getting their full money.
The best explanation is always do the manual. Don't worry.
How are you a better candidate than the guy standing next to you?
My experience in the finance department this year has led me to where I am today. I have learned every single process that clubs need to know for money. I can educate clubs, I can help clubs out, and I can even help them budget for the next year. If they need help, they can come to me. Working in the finance department this year, I have gotten a wide range of questions, and these questions have educated me and I've developed more of a knowledge of what the clubs need for their success and their expansion. As treasurer, I'm going to bring my experience that I have from this year into a higher level of office. When clubs come to me, I will know what questions they have asked the bookkeepers. I will know why they're frozen. I will know how to solve these problems so that the clubs can get in and out of the office in a timely and efficient manner. This will not only help them, but I feel they will be able to educate. They will be able to come in and talk more, talk to us in a closer relationship, and we will get to know each other better.
Alright, in my opinion, what makes me a better candidate for this position is not having just limited knowledge of the SA, which I currently do have. Having been involved with the Student Association since my sophomore year does give me sufficient amounts of knowledge of how to work with the SA. And it actually is better because I actually worked on the 2 e-boards, so I know what methods that were used by specific e-boards were effective. With that being in mind, I also come from within the clubs. I also am re-emphasizing the fact that I am currently the ISA treasurer, and just with that being in mind, I do understand all the discrepancies that clubs also go on with the SA finance. And improving communication, in my opinion, is the best way to actually help clubs out. But having the information of what clubs deal with when it comes down to SA finances will allow me, as I said in my introduction, to actually mitigate these problems and issues before we actually even start the year, and which will obviously bring about more effective running of the clubs and the Student Association in general.
You talk about working under the past 2 e-boards. Now, from my understanding, I was told, and I know this from working with you this year, that you were fired not once but twice. How can you expect to work in a higher office when you've been fired from the Student Association 2 times, especially as a bookkeeper?
Just a clarification, can I rebuttal to that or no?
Yeah. Moderators?
Okay. Alright, thank you. Just a clarification over there, I wasn't fired twice, I was laid off this year for reasons outside my knowledge. When I was laid off, I was not provided any form of documentation, any sorts of complaints, or anything was brought to my attention. Test as to who knows more. A simple Jeopardy game. I would dominate that game and overpower it way beyond your expectations, which you will not be able to meet. Also, when you said I met with the people in the SA Finance who did come and tell me about my complaints, that is wrong. I met with the Chief of Staff once, where clearly in the SA Staff Handbook it's mentioned I have to be twice.
Okay, but you were handed papers when you were fired, and as a matter of fact, Travis was the one who told you were let go and fired. So there must have been a reason. There must have been reasons that clearly no one has seen. You know, obviously there were reasons why you were fired, and they didn't just let you go for no apparent reason. You know.
I just had one more rebuttal each. That's it. I'm cutting you off.
Obviously, you weren't.
No more rebuttals. Travis, I have a question. What if someone in the audience has a question for you about like current policy?
Pardon?
What if somebody in this audience has a question for you about current policy?
Give me 200 signatures and a time machine. I'll answer it.
Oh, okay. Just because I don't even know like what everything is like for like staff, especially in finance and stuff. But just so everyone here knows, what is the current policy about like what's the procedure of firing somebody? Like when is the chief of staff supposed to speak to them, or when are they supposed to be brought in? Because I don't know.
As it stands in the staff handbook, we have administrative warnings that we have to give out.
At the time of the complaint?
Within a reasonable time. We also maintain, however, that New York is the state of New York, and indeed the Student Association is an at-will employer, so we can fire anyone at any time for any reason. In fact, just to show you I can do this, Alex, leave.
Okay, this is all mine.
Eli, great Facebook event for this. You can go too.
Okay, no, I was just wondering, just because I didn't know that.
There are administrative warnings that we hand out, but we also retain the ability to fire anyone at any time for any reason.
Okay.
Except for elected officials. That's why you're not on the chopping block for asking.
I know.
All right. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to write down questions or tweet them.
Okay, this is all mine.
Eli, great Facebook event for this. You can go too.
Okay, no, I was just wondering, just because I didn't know that.
There are administrative warnings that we hand out, but we also retain the ability to fire anyone at any time for any reason.
Okay.
Except for elected officials. That's why you're not on the chopping block for asking. All right. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes to write down questions or tweet them.
Tweeting them.
Are there any future plans you would like implemented that would make club funds more accessible for use by the clubs and the students who belong to them? Now, after Rebuttal Palooza, do any of you remember who went first?
Hold up, I think I...
Yeah. No, he went first. After what he said, you rebuttal.
The last person to speak was Sid. The last person to speak was Sid.
I know, right?
You are super on fire.
Yes!
Are there any future plans you would like implemented that will make club funds more accessible for use by the clubs and the students who belong to them?
One thing we could do about that is we could give more people permission to use SAFE. Right now, only the president and the treasurer are allowed to use SAFE and put in for, requests for funds. I would like to implement and letting the secretary and vice president be able to check SAFE and be able to log in. This will not only allow them to look at their budget, but they'll be able to put in requests so that when they come into the office, they'll have no idea what they're talking about.
There are no rebuttals.
Oh, okay, that's the other question. I'm gonna go right now. On my platform, if you guys do get a chance, it's gonna be hard for me to explain this in 30 seconds, but if you guys do get a chance, please go ahead and read it. So basically, what my plans are for allowing clubs to utilize their own money. It's kind of silly to even hear that. There's something new which I want to develop called the emergencies line. Basically, the emergencies line is a line which will be available and accessible to all the clubs who are sure of gaining revenue into their account in the near future. So it's kind of a borrowing line which clubs will actually take out of the emergencies line at that point in time after gaining permission from us. But then once they get their ticket sales revenue or revenue from fundraising or anything of that sort, they can replenish the emergencies line with that money. So basically, with that being said, I just wanted to mention that the emergencies line is available for clubs when we have ticket sales revenue coming into clubs, and with prior records kept in mind, on basis of those, we'll consider an event to be an emergency or not. Thank you.
This one's to Josh Fromm.
What are you planning to do to allow students to see exactly how SA is spending student money?
I plan to allow students to see the ledgers. I do plan to publicize them. I would like to see how, I would like students to see how much money is spent on staff and in club budgets. I know now, I work for the Student Association. People have asked me, how much are you paid? They have no idea. I would like to release these records to the public and allow them to understand where their mandatory student activity is going.
Would you provide the resumes and/or cover letters of the assembly during the staff approval process, most specifically finance staff?
If it is in the best interest of the finance department, I do not see why not, but having the identity obviously of the candidate covered so that, again, there's no room for having a biased opinion over this. So looking at resumes, having obviously one-on-one face-to-face interviews, and just hiring candidates which are credible for the position would be in the best interest of the SA Finance Department, in my opinion.
I'm gonna have to agree with Sid on that one. You can look at a resume, you could judge one person from another, but what it comes down to it is really talking to the person and knowing, how knowledgeable they are about certain areas. And it's all about communication. That's really one of the #1 things in the finance department. If you can communicate with someone, then you can work in that department. And it's getting the point to the clubs and answering questions for clubs. It's not just putting in stuff into the computer every single day. I go into the office, I put in newly received requests for about, I'm going to say 20 minutes on average. I sit at my desk and I get constant questions for clubs. If you look at a resume, you can't really tell how good someone is with communication. So I think the one things I want to do, is have interviews and really compare candidates based on their communication skills.
How would each candidate choose the hiring committee to be fair? There is actually a right answer to this question.
I think the hiring committee should be the 3 boards together and the chief of staff. I think with those 4 people, you can get a clear, you can pick the best candidate. I definitely don't want to be biased. If someone knows someone in the room and they're, interviewing for a position, whoever knows that person should leave the room. If let's say I knew the kid who was interviewing on a personal level, I'm going to be leaving that room because I don't want to be biased at all when hiring.
I do agree with having the 3 board members and the chief of staff in the room at the same time. But again, coming about the point of having biased opinions, in my opinion, only by leaving the room will not have any effect. The hiring committee should not only consist of those 4 members, but also members of the SA who've been involved with the SA, such as the pro staff, who've been involved with the SA such a really, really long time. And in my opinion, are really credible people who would definitely make an unbiased opinion for the greater good of the SA and the clubs itself. So I believe that should have the hiring committee set, and so that the SA staff is hired based on with the hiring committee.
Like I said, there's a right and a wrong answer to that question, and you're both wrong. The Constitution requires you to have at least 1 senator and at least 1 assemblyman in that room. But I've got a follow-up question for both of you who talked about people you know. Let's say for a lot of high-level director jobs, people like the chief of staff or departmental directors, these are people who have been in SA for a long time. It's very likely that all 3 executive board members know them. So when you want to hire your chief of staff or your directors, are you going to have strangers do it?
It's me, right? In that situation, I believe that yes, there will be applications from current from SA staff who would be also really good for the job. But with that being in mind, I believe that not only just having one-to-one communication with them, like having an interview, looking at their prior records, looking at how they perform, looking at how they actually come up and resolve issues, certain issues that they put on the spot, and how they face certain situations, looking at their credentials and making an unbiased judgment as to who would be a better candidate for the position would suffice.
I'm gonna have to say the chief of staff and the department heads are people who have been working in the student association for a while. I would love to open up these positions to the outside, and I would love to get resumes from the outside for people who are applying. And you know, maybe these people will be the best for the job, but if you don't understand how SA is run from the start, we will crumble as an organization. We need people who have knowledge, who have experience of SA, to be leading SA.
And Aaron will give us our last question.
What is one innovative/new idea that you would like to bring to the SA Finance Department?
One of the new and innovative ideas I have is, you know, I want to make the 22222 requirement as clear as possible. I'm going to have a calendar, and I'm going to update it on a daily basis so that clubs can complete these requirements. So comes February or March, they can come to me during budget hearings and say, listen, you know, we've completed all this stuff, and we've gone beyond what we've completed, you know. That way, we can see, you know, what clubs have gone beyond and what clubs haven't, because we've given them all equal opportunity to do that. And I think that way, that is the fairest way to give clubs, you know, a raise in budgets or keep their budgets the same for the following year.
As I mentioned earlier, in regard to SA finances, one new innovative idea, I think it was in regard to SA finances, the question specifically. So just pertaining to SA finances, I think the emergencies line is one line which is really important, which I feel should be available for the students. Just explaining that again of what I said in my first answer, the emergencies line is a really important line, a really effective line, which will be utilized by a lot of clubs if utilized in the right way. There will be a certain guidelines and rules and regulations that have to be followed so that we are assured that we are getting our money back into the emergencies line and it is available for the other clubs to utilize out there. And with that being in mind, I feel that for the functioning and the running of a club more smoothly, like after having a really big event, clubs sometimes don't have enough sufficient funds in their account. That's when the emergency line comes into play. They can take revenues out, and then eventually, once they get their ticket sales, they can put the revenues back in. So it'll really help the club to function more smoothly and have consistent events.
All right, and that's all the time we have for questions. Josh and Sid, would you like to give closing statements? Audience, would you like to hear closing statements?
Sure.
Josh and Sid? Do you want us to flip a coin?
Rock, paper, scissors.
Justin walked away with our coin.
Yes. Yes. Best of 3.
No, you're an upstate New York, you're going to say shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. None of this downstate.
Coming in general, I would first of all like to thank you guys for listening to me, and hopefully you guys do come out and vote because it is really vital. Whether let it be for me or let it be for Josh or let it be for any party, it is really important for you guys to come out and vote because you have an impact. You can make the difference right now by selecting the right candidate. And if given the opportunity, coming from the clubs, I do realize all the discrepancies that go on with the clubs. Again, we emphasize in that statement. and I feel I will bring forth a lot to bring a lot forward for the clubs and for the smooth running of the student association, just with the knowledge and the skills that I've developed in the past, let it be in regard to the public sector, let it be in regard to the SA Finance, which I was laid off of, let it be in regard to also the clubs that I've been involved with. With all that in mind, I just feel that having me elected as SA Treasurer would be in best interest, and also would allow me to give back the services which I gained from you guys in my 3 years over here at UB. Being an international student was hard. I took the most out of everything that was thrown at me. I developed all the knowledge, and now I want to put it to the best use. And in my opinion, the best way I can put that to use is helping you guys back out. Thank you so much.
It's a great opportunity to be here tonight, and I appreciate everyone for coming out. I truthfully believe that if given a chance, I will make a huge impact on students and be able to use my knowledge and experience to better the university and the finance department. Just to sum up a little bit, I plan to cut the office budget, to use the money on students, and to reinvest in activities and clubs instead of paychecks. You know, this will give students the opportunity who are not involved with the student association to use their mandatory fee. You know, we want to expand out to these students. I also want to be as fair as possible to clubs. Okay? I've seen I've seen some things happen this year, as you know, to why some clubs haven't gotten money, this, that, and the other thing. I want to view clubs on an equal basis. I believe that each club should be given the chance to succeed and expand on this campus. I believe I am the best candidate for treasurer. I am the only one in this campaign who has successfully completed one continuous year as a bookkeeper. My time in the department has prepared me to take on the responsibilities as treasurer. No one has been given the same training that I have this year. Please, vote for me and my party forward. We will make a huge difference to the clubs and students alike. Without your vote, I cannot promise you the finance department will run at an optimum level, or even the SA office on that matter. I ask you to stand with us by voting forward the only way you want to move.
Thank you, candidates. Thank you, spectators.